While the rest of the world is busy performing for an audience that doesn't really care, there's a rare breed of man who walks through life with a different set of rules. He doesn't chase attention, he doesn't beg for approval, and he certainly doesn't waste his energy trying to impress people who are too distracted by their own insecurities to even notice. If you're watching this, chances are you already feel it, that sense that you don't quite fit the mold, that quiet knowing that the games everyone else is playing just don't make sense to you. And here's the truth, most men will never understand. That feeling isn't a weakness, it's your greatest advantage. In a world drowning in superficiality, where image is everything and substance is rare, the Sigma male operates from the shadows, not because he's afraid of the light, but because he knows the light is just a distraction. This video is not for everyone. It's for the man who's ready to embrace the dark advantage he was born with. If that's you, make sure you subscribe to Official Sigma Male and hit the notification bell. We're building a space here for men who refuse to be ordinary. Let's begin. 1. The invisible armor. There's a protection most men will never possess, not because it's impossible to obtain, but because they're too busy seeking armor in all the wrong places. They buy expensive clothes to feel confident. They chase titles to feel worthy. They surround themselves with people to feel safe, but all of this is external. All of this can be taken away in an instant. The Sigma male understands something different. His armor is invisible because it's built from within. It's forged in the quiet moments when no one is watching, in the nights spent alone, facing his own demons, in the failures he never told anyone about. Every disappointment he survived, every betrayal he overcame, every rejection he absorbed without breaking. These became the layers of his protection. Think about this. When someone insults you, where does the pain come from? It comes from the gap between who you think you are and who they say you are. But what if there was no gap? What if you knew yourself so deeply, so completely, that no external opinion could shake your foundation? This is the invisible armor. It's not arrogance. It's not pretending you don't care. It's genuine, unshakable self-knowledge. The Sigma male has spent so much time in solitude, examining his own mind, confronting his own shadows, that he knows exactly who he is. And when you know who you are, no one can tell you otherwise. Here's a practical truth. Every time you resist the urge to defend yourself against meaningless criticism, your armor grows stronger. Every time you choose silence over reaction, you add another layer. The world will test you constantly. People will try to provoke you, to destabilize you, to pull you into their chaos. Your invisible armor is what allows you to stand still while the storm rages around you. Most men are walking around naked, emotionally exposed, desperate for validation to cover their insecurities. The Sigma male walks through the same world fully protected, not because he feels nothing, but because he has mastered what he feels. Build your armor in silence. Let them wonder why nothing touches you. 2. The power of strategic detachment. Most people are drowning in emotional quicksand. They react to every comment, every look, every perceived slight. Their mood depends on what someone else said this morning. Their peace is hostage to circumstances they cannot control. This is no way to live. This is slavery disguised as sensitivity. The Sigma male practices something different. Strategic detachment. It's not about becoming cold or heartless. It's about choosing, with precision, what deserves your emotional investment and what doesn't. Imagine your emotional energy as a finite resource, like money in a bank account. Every reaction, every argument, every moment spent worrying about what others think, that's a withdrawal. Most men are emotionally bankrupt by noon because they spend their energy on things that don't matter. The Sigma conserves. He invests only where there's a real return. Here's what strategic detachment looks like in practice. Someone disrespects you at work. The average man reacts immediately, defends himself, escalates the situation, loses sleep over it. The Sigma observes. He calculates. He asks himself, does this person have any real power over my life? Is this situation worth my energy? 9 times out of 10, the answer is no, so he lets it pass. Not because he's weak, but because he's wise. This detachment extends to outcomes as well. The Sigma works hard, plans carefully, executes with discipline, but he doesn't attach his identity to results. He knows that some things are beyond his control. Markets crash, people betray, plans fail. By detaching from outcomes while committing to the process, he remains stable, regardless of what happens. People will call you cold. They'll say you don't care. Let them. They don't understand that your detachment is what keeps you sane in an insane world. While they're drowning in drama, you're floating above it, clear-eyed and calm. Strategic detachment is not the absence of emotion, it's the mastery of it. 3. Seeing through the social theatre. Open your eyes and really look at the world around you. Watch how people behave at parties, at work, on social media. Watch the performances, the fake laughs, the exaggerated reactions, the desperate attempts to seem interesting, successful, happy. This is the social theatre, and almost everyone is an actor who has forgotten their acting. The Sigma male sits in the audience while everyone else is on stage. He sees the scripts people follow. He notices the masks they wear, and most importantly, he refuses to audition for a role in a play he never believed in. Think about social media for a moment. People posting carefully curated versions of their lives, showing only the highlights, hiding the struggles, the loneliness, the quiet desperation. They're performing happiness for an audience of other performers. It's a collective illusion, and billions of people are trapped inside it. But here's what the Sigma understands. When you see through the theatre, you gain an incredible advantage. You stop comparing your real life to other people's performances. You stop feeling inadequate because you're measuring yourself against illusions. You recognize that the confident guy at the party might be drowning in debt. The happy couple on Instagram might be one argument away from divorce. The successful businessman might be empty inside. This isn't cynicism, it's clarity. And clarity is power. When you see through the theatre, you also become immune to manipulation. Advertisers can't convince you that buying something will make you happy. Social pressure can't force you into decisions that don't serve you. You see the strings that move the puppets, so no one can pull yours. The Sigma doesn't hate society. He simply sees it for what it is, a stage full of performers desperately seeking applause from other performers. And he chooses, consciously, to step out of the spotlight and into the truth. While they perform, you observe. While they seek approval, you seek understanding. This is your dark advantage. 4. The freedom of zero validation. There's a prison most men don't even know they're trapped in. It has no bars, no walls, no guards, yet it controls their every move, their every decision, their every thought. This prison is the need for external validation. Think about how much of your life has been shaped by what others might think. The career you chose, the clothes you wear, the opinions you express or hide, the dreams you abandoned because someone might laugh. Most men are not living their own lives. They're living a life designed to earn approval from people who don't really care about them. The Sigma male has broken out of this prison. He has achieved something rare and powerful, the freedom of zero validation. This doesn't happen overnight. It's a process of gradual liberation. First, you start noticing how often you adjust your behavior for an audience. Then you begin questioning why. Whose approval are you seeking? Why does their opinion matter? What would you do if no one was watching? Here's a practical exercise. For 1 week, make every small decision based purely on what you want, not what others might think. Order the food you actually want at a restaurant. Wear what feels right to you. Share an opinion you've been hiding. Watch how uncomfortable it feels at first. That discomfort is the feeling of freedom, and you're not used to it. The man who needs nothing from others has power over everyone. Not because he manipulates or controls, but because he cannot be manipulated or controlled. When you don't need someone's approval, they have no leverage over you. When you don't fear their rejection, they cannot threaten you. Most people will never understand this freedom. They'll think you're arrogant or antisocial. They'll be confused by someone who doesn't play the validation game. Let them wonder. Their confusion is proof of your liberation. The Sigma male doesn't seek approval. He doesn't avoid disapproval. He simply acts according to his own values and lets the world react however it will. This is true freedom, and once you taste it, you'll never go back to the prison. 5. Turning darkness into fuel. Every man carries darkness within him. It's unavoidable. Life doesn't ask permission before delivering pain. It doesn't care if you're ready. It simply happens. Rejection happens. Betrayal happens. Loss happens. Failure happens. And these experiences leave marks that never fully disappear. Most men spend their entire lives running from this darkness. They drink to forget. They distract themselves with entertainment, with noise, with anything that keeps them from sitting alone with their thoughts. They bury their pain under forced smiles and hollow positivity. They pretend the darkness doesn't exist, hoping that if they ignore it long enough, it will somehow vanish, but it never vanishes. It waits, it festers, and eventually it controls them from the shadows they refuse to face. The Sigma male takes a radically different approach. He doesn't run from his darkness. He doesn't pretend it doesn't exist. Instead, he turns and faces it directly. He examines it. He understands it. And then he transforms it into the most powerful fuel available to any man. Think about the most difficult moments of your life. Really think about them. The times you were rejected so completely that you questioned your own worth. The times you were humiliated in front of people whose opinions mattered to you. The times you trusted someone with your heart, your secrets, your vulnerability, and they used it against you. The times you worked so hard for something, gave everything you had, and still failed. These moments left scars. There's no denying that. But here's the question that separates the Sigma from ordinary men. What will you do with those scars? Will they be wounds that weaken you forever, evidence of your defeats, reminders of your pain? Or will they become something else entirely? Will they become the markings of a warrior, proof that you've been through battles and survived? The transformation begins with a shift in perspective. Stop seeing your painful experiences as things that happened to you. Start seeing them as things that built you. Every rejection you survived taught you that you don't need acceptance to exist. Every betrayal you endured taught you to trust your own judgment above all else. Every failure you experienced taught you lessons that success never could. Here's a practical truth that most people miss. Comfortable men are weak men. Men who've never struggled, never suffered, never been broken and rebuilt. They have no depth. They have no resilience. They crumble at the first sign of real adversity because they've never developed the muscles to handle it. Your darkness gave you those muscles. Your pain was the gym where your mental strength was forged. The nights you spent alone, wondering if things would ever get better, those nights built something in you that easy times never could. Now, here's how to actively turn that darkness into fuel. First, stop avoiding your painful memories. Most men have mental rooms they never enter, places where they've locked away experiences too painful to examine. The Sigma opens those doors. He sits with the discomfort. He revisits the scenes of his greatest pain, not to wallow, but to understand. What really happened? What did it teach him? How did it change him? What strength did it secretly give him? Second, use the emotions your darkness generates. Pain creates powerful emotions. Anger, determination, a burning hunger to prove everyone wrong, a fierce desire to never be in that vulnerable position again. These emotions are pure energy. Most men suppress them or let them explode destructively. The Sigma channels them. When he's in the gym and wants to quit, he remembers every person who doubted him. When he's working late on his goals and exhaustion sets in, he thinks about the times he was dismissed as worthless. The darkness becomes his fuel. Third, let your past struggles become your silent motivation. You don't need to broadcast your pain. You don't need to tell anyone about your difficult past. In fact, keeping it private makes it more powerful. It becomes your secret weapon, your hidden reserve of strength that no one else knows about. When people wonder where your drive comes from, where your intensity originates, you just smile. They wouldn't understand anyway. Consider some of the most successful men in history. So many of them came from darkness, poverty, abuse, abandonment, rejection. They had something to prove to a world that dismissed them. They had pain that demanded transformation. They had demons that pushed them further than comfort ever could have. The Sigma understands a fundamental truth about human nature. Light and darkness are both sources of power. Society tells us to seek only the light, to be positive, to focus on good things. But this is incomplete. The man who can harness both the light and the dark has access to a fuller spectrum of power. His darkness doesn't make him evil or broken. It makes him complete. It gives him an edge, a depth, a fire that comfortable men simply cannot possess. There's one more thing to understand. Your darkness connects you to others in ways that your light never could. When you've suffered, you recognize suffering in others. When you've been broken, you understand what it means to rebuild. This gives you a quiet compassion, a depth of understanding that surface-level people lack. Your darkness, properly integrated, actually makes you more human, not less. So stop running from your shadows. Stop pretending the painful chapters of your life didn't happen. They happened, they hurt, and they made you who you are. The question is whether you'll let that pain destroy you or whether you'll use it to become something extraordinary. Your pain is not your weakness. It's your secret weapon. Your darkness is not your shame. It's your fuel. Use it. Let it drive you toward everything you were meant to become. 6. The long game mentality. We live in an era of instant everything. Instant communication. Instant entertainment, instant food, instant gratification at every turn. Society has trained people to expect immediate results, immediate rewards, immediate satisfaction for every action they take. And this is precisely why most people fail. They start a business and expect profits within months. They begin working out and check the mirror every day for visible changes. They learn a new skill and get frustrated when they're not experts within weeks. They plant seeds today and dig them up tomorrow to see if they're growing yet. This is the mindset of the masses. And it's why the masses stay exactly where they are, running in circles, chasing quick fixes, jumping from one shiny opportunity to another, never building anything that lasts. The Sigma male operates on a completely different timeline. While the world sprints toward instant gratification, he's running a marathon. While others are thinking about what they can get today, he's engineering what he'll have in 10 years. This is the long game mentality, and it's one of the most powerful advantages any man can possess. Let's be clear about what the long game really means. It's not just patience, though patience is part of it. It's not just persistence, though persistence is essential. The long game is a fundamental reorientation of how you think about time, effort, and reward. Most people see time as their enemy. They feel it slipping away. They panic that they're not achieving fast enough. They make rushed decisions based on fear that they'll miss out if they don't act immediately. This anxiety makes them vulnerable to bad choices, to scams promising quick riches, to shortcuts that lead nowhere. The Sigma sees time as his greatest ally. He understands that time is the ingredient that transforms small, consistent actions into massive results. He knows that the most valuable things in life, genuine wealth, mastery of a craft, deep and meaningful relationships, a reputation built on real substance, these things cannot be rushed. They require years, sometimes decades, of patient investment. Here's a practical way to think about it. Imagine two men who both want to be wealthy. The first man is playing the short game. He's looking for hot stock tips, lottery tickets, get-rich-quick schemes. He's constantly jumping from one opportunity to another, always chasing the next big thing. 10 years from now, he'll be in the same place, probably worse. Still chasing, still hoping. The second man is playing the long game. He picks a skill and commits to mastering it over years. He saves a percentage of everything he earns and invests it consistently. He builds relationships slowly, based on genuine value, not manipulation. He doesn't need his efforts to pay off this month or even this year. He trusts the process. 10 years from now, he's in a completely different position. The compound effect of his patient, consistent actions has created something substantial. This applies to every area of life. In fitness, the man playing the long game doesn't do extreme diets or intense programs he can't sustain. He develops habits he can maintain for life. He focuses on showing up consistently, not on dramatic short-term transformations. And over years, while others yo-yo between effort and laziness, he builds a body that reflects decades of discipline. In relationships, the man playing the long game doesn't rush into intensity or try to accelerate intimacy. He lets things develop naturally. He invests in people without immediate expectations of return. He builds a network of deep, genuine connections that will support him for life, not a collection of shallow contacts who disappear when he needs them. In career and business, the long game means focusing on value creation rather than value extraction. It means building skills that compound over time. It means establishing a reputation so solid that opportunities eventually come to you instead of you chasing them. The long game mentality also requires something that most people lack, the ability to sacrifice present pleasures for future gains. The Sigma can say no to the party because he has work to do. He can skip the expensive purchase because he's building capital. He can endure the boredom of repetitive practice because he knows where it leads. He's connected to his future self in a way that most people aren't. Here's a powerful mental exercise. Imagine yourself 10 years from now. If you continue on your current path, with your current habits, your current level of discipline, where will you be? Really visualize it. Now imagine what you could become if you committed fully to the long game, if you spent the next decade building something real instead of chasing instant gratification. The gap between those two futures is your opportunity. The Sigma lives in that gap. There's also a strategic advantage to the long game that most people miss. While everyone else is competing frantically for short-term rewards, the long-term space is relatively empty. Few people have the patience to play there, so when you commit to the long game, you're competing against a much smaller field. You're zigging while everyone else zags. Most people are playing checkers, reactive, short-sighted, focused on the next move only. The Sigma is playing chess. He's thinking 10 moves ahead. He's positioning himself for victories that others can't even see yet. He's sacrificing pawns today to capture queens tomorrow. The world will always reward the patient predator over the hasty hunter. The man who can delay gratification, who can trust the process, who can keep working when there's no immediate payoff. This man is unstoppable. Not because he's the most talented, not because he got lucky, but because he understood something that most people never will. Time is your weapon. Patience is your power. Play the long game. Your future self, the version of you that exists after years of consistent investment, will thank you for the sacrifices you made today. 7. The art of controlled absence. In a world where everyone is desperate to be seen, the Sigma male understands a counterintuitive truth. Sometimes your absence is more powerful than your presence. Think about human psychology. We value what's scarce. We chase what retreats. We obsess over what we can't have. The man who's always available, always present, always eager, he becomes background noise. But the man who appears and disappears strategically, he becomes magnetic. This is the art of controlled absence. It applies to every area of life. In relationships, the man who maintains his own life, his own interests, his own space, is more attractive than the one who's constantly available. In business, the consultant who's hard to book is perceived as more valuable than the one who's always free. In social settings, the person who arrives late and leaves early often makes a stronger impression than the one who stays the entire time. But controlled absence is not game-playing or manipulation. It's about genuinely having a life that doesn't revolve around any single person or situation. The Sigma is absent sometimes because he's busy building. He's developing himself. He's pursuing goals that matter to him. His absence is a byproduct of a full life, not a calculated tactic. Here's how to practice this. First, stop being immediately available to everyone. Respond to messages when it's convenient for you, not instantly. Second, protect your solitude. Time alone is not empty time. It's investment time. Third, don't overstay your welcome in any situation. Leave while things are still good. Leave people wanting more. The Sigma knows that his presence is valuable precisely because it's not guaranteed. He gives others the gift of missing him. And in that space of absence, his value grows. You don't need to be everywhere. You don't need to be always on. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is disappear, only to return stronger. 8. Becoming the man they can't ignore. Here's the final truth, and perhaps the most important one. The Sigma male doesn't seek attention, but he becomes impossible to ignore. Not through noise, but through substance. Not through performance, but through results. There's a difference between demanding attention and commanding it. The loud man in the room demands attention. He talks over others, shows off, makes everything about himself. And yes, people look at him, but not with respect, with tolerance, sometimes with pity. The Sigma commands attention differently. He walks into a room and says little, but what he says matters. He doesn't announce his achievements, but his results speak for themselves. He doesn't try to impress anyone, and that's precisely what makes him impressive. Becoming the man they can't ignore requires a fundamental shift. You must stop focusing on how you appear and start focusing on who you actually are. Develop real skills, not surface-level knowledge. Build real wealth, not the appearance of success. Cultivate real confidence, not borrowed bravado. Here's a practical principle. For every hour most men spend curating their image, spend that hour improving your reality. While they're posting highlight reels, you're in the gym. While they're talking about their plans, you're executing yours. While they're networking at parties, you're mastering your craft. Over time, a gap opens up. The performers stay in the same place, recycling the same illusions. But you've become something genuine, something substantial, something that can't be faked or imitated. And people notice. They can't help but notice. The man they can't ignore isn't trying to be seen. He's simply become too significant to overlook. His gravity pulls attention without effort. His presence changes the energy of every room he enters, not because he demands it, but because he's earned it. This is your destination, not fame, not popularity, not admiration from the masses, but the quiet, undeniable respect that comes from being the real thing in a world full of imitations. Become so good, so developed, so solid in who you are, that ignoring you is simply not an option. Most men spend their entire lives chasing things that will never fill the void. Approval, status, the illusion of being seen. They exhaust themselves performing for a world that forgets them the moment they stop dancing. But you now understand something different. You've seen behind the curtain. You know that real power doesn't come from being admired. It comes from being unmoved, from standing firm while the rest of the world spins in chaos. The dark advantage isn't about rejecting society. It's about mastering yourself so completely that society's games lose their grip on you. It's about building in silence, growing in solitude, and becoming the kind of man who doesn't need the world's permission to be great. This is the path of the Sigma. It's not easy, it's not popular, but it's real. If this message resonated with you, subscribe to Official Sigma Male. Every video we create is designed to sharpen your mind and strengthen your resolve. Share this with a man who needs to hear it. And remember, while they perform, you prepare. While they react, you calculate. While they fade, you rise. Stay sharp, stay sovereign, stay Sigma.